The Celestial Empire, or Points and Pickings of Information about China and the Chinese, by George Mogridge. Chapter 2. A Rapid Run to China. There are two ways to China, even if you do not go overland to India. You may, after clearing the Atlantic, either sail easterly, doubling the Cape of Good Hope and crossing the Indian Ocean, or westerly, round Cape Horn and across the Pacific. But there are some reasons why neither of these might at the moment suit you, even supposing you would like the voyage. Whether you sail easterly or westerly, in either case you must pay for your passage and your outfit before you go on board, and the amount will be a good round sum. It may also be inconvenient to spend so many months on the water as you must do if you embark on the voyage, to say nothing of accidents and seasickness. But if you will be content to go to China in fancy and not in reality, all these inconveniences will be avoided. Let me suppose, then, that you are on board the Sir George Staunton or the Trincomalee, and that, having cleared the Channel and weathered a storm in the Bay of Biscay, you are already arrived at the Isle of Madeira. Again you set sail. Your seasickness has abated, and you look with delight on the things around you. One day you see flying fish, on another a shark, or a porpoise is hooked and heaved upon the deck. Then you speak a ship bound for Liverpool, and pick up a boat's crew of half-famished seamen who have been wrecked off the Canaries. At last, a waterspout attracts your attention, and you repeat the lines of poor Falconer who perished in the mighty deep. While from the left approaching we descry a liquid column towering shoot on high, its foaming base an angry whirlwind sweeps, where curling billows rouse the fearful deeps. Still round and round the fluid vortex flies, scattering dun night and horror through the skies. The swift volution and the enormous train let sages versed in nature's law explain. The horrid apparition still draws nigh, and white with foam the whirling surgers fly. On you go through the world of waters, the wind whistling through the cordage, the tall masts creaking, and the ship ploughing her way amid the whitening waves. At one time swimming like a fish, and at another seeming to fly like a bird. Oh, there is a strange, a wild, and irrepressible delight in dashing through the foaming billows. Cape Verde is past, St. Helena is astern, and now you are buffeting the billows in a vain attempt to double the cape. Cheerly, all's well. Again you are on your way. You have had occasion to touch at the Mauritius. You have reached Penang. You have run through the Straits of Malacca. You are already in the Chinese Sea. At the entrance of the Canton River, the islands are more than you will take the trouble to number. The Chinese call them the Thousand Isles. Many people besides the Chinese have a habit of speaking in round numbers and not being very precise in their descriptions, as though 100 or 2 more or less would hardly signify. Hong Kong is one of these Thousand Isles. Look out sharply, ahead on approaching Hong Kong. You will see the land some 20 or 30 miles away, and you will see also the water covered with a flotilla of 2 or 3 masted boats with fore and aft sails made of matting. These are fishing boats in pairs, dragging a net between each pair. Now you may begin to sketch and make notes, to call forth the wonder and admiration of your friends on your return to old England. You will soon have an outside pilot alongside your ship. There are inside pilots as well as outside. They are licensed by the Chinese government to conduct foreign vessels through the bog from Macau to the inner waters of the river. The pilot boat will be wedge-shaped, sharp in the stem and broad in the stern, and lying with her head low in the water, with bamboo stretched across the sails, so that a reef may be taken in at once by simply lowering the yard. In front of the mainmast, you will see a well containing a fair supply of water, and the Chinese sailors aboard in their wide blue calico trousers reaching a little below the knee, and their loose jackets or smock frocks, as open as they can be at the neck, will remind you of the figures you have seen in china shops in Old England. If you should happen to have your head full of the 350 millions forming the population of China and expect to see one house built on another and the people almost walking on each other's shoulders, you will be disappointed. The coast is barren, and you may look a long while for a crop of grass or a full-grown tree without finding them. We often form strange notions of places we have never seen. Hong Kong is, perhaps, between 30 and 40 miles distant from Macau, and as much as 100 from Canton. The island is 8 or 9 miles in length, and varies from 2 to 5 in breadth. I question if the narrowest part of the strait that divides it from the mainland is more than a mile across. The name of Hong Kong is a corruption of Hiong Kiong, the fragrant stream. Hong Kong, having so famous a bay and such good and safe anchorage with water deep enough to float a first-rate man of war close to the land or within a cable's length from it, must rapidly improve, while Macau will no doubt decline. When the British entered on the island, its inhabitants were about 4,000, but it is now getting populous, for the natives from Kowloon or Kowloon, a town opposite on the mainland, are flocking there in great numbers. The people, some time ago, were thought to be not less than 30,000. If you happen to be fond of architecture, you will have a high treat here. People generally think that there are only 5 orders of architecture. But if you will only stand on a proper spot at Hong Kong and look keenly round, I will undertake that you will very soon discover 15, if not 50. At Hong Kong, you will see godowns or warehouses in abundance. In the middle of the town is the government house on a hill. The post office is on another hill. It is said that on Valentine's Day last, 150,000 additional letters passed through the London post office. Hardly need I say that the number passing through the post office at Hong Kong on the same day was not quite so great. The buildings belonging to the Morrison Education Society, the Missionary, the Medical, and the Seamen's Hospital, with public edifices and goodly mansions in all directions, will attract your attention. Among these are the courthouse and the gaol. One might almost suppose by the number of people which take up their abode in the latter building that it was by far the most desirable and favorite residence. The deep valley running from north to south across Hong Kong is called the Happy Valley. The vessels running to and fro between Canton, Macau, and Hong Kong are fast boats using sails and oars, which carry letters, schooners and cutters, small vessels of European build and rig, and lorcas, large-decked Chinese boats from 20 to 40 tons. The latter are generally preferred by passengers, but if you can get aboard an European ship, do. You may be a little longer on your passage, but your comfort will be greatly increased. We learn these things by experience. That Hong Kong is a place of rising importance is certain, and that the British people who congregate there may one day have great influence on the great empire of China is almost as evident. It is for this reason that I hope many who go there will embody the British character, settling down not as a mere group of money-getters, tea-buyers, and opium sellers, but as men with hearts in their bosoms that beat for the real good of all mankind. Too often do Englishmen, when abroad, bring dishonor to England. May the residents of Hong Kong be of a different character, open-hearted, hospitable, and generous, spreading around them knowledge, humanity, and justice, kindness, virtue, and piety. A Briton, though on foreign ground, should spread a generous influence round, as true in temper, heart, and soul, as trembling needle to the pole. The southern side of the island is more fertile, pleasant, and picturesque than the northern, though the buildings of the British are on the latter to secure the anchorage of the bay and to avoid the fury of the southwest monsoon. We must not expect to reap every advantage. Wherever we are, we must give up one thing to possess another. In Hong Kong Island, there is plenty of clear fresh water and no difficulty in procuring granite, while in the bay to the north there is abundance of ships and no lack of fishing boats in the bays of Taitum and Chuk Pai Wan to the south. The sportsman will find snipes, quails, and partridges without much trouble, while the naturalist may extend his acquaintance with deer, armadillos, land tortoises and snakes, palms, plantains, bananas, wild pomegranates and mangoes, longans, lychees and peaches, pineapples, oranges, pears, sweet potatoes, and yams. Though a considerable part of the land becomes boggy after rain, and though the cold blast and the heavy shower are rapidly followed by burning heat, yet are there worse places in the world to live in than the island of Hong Kong. Hardly do I know a more exciting scene than that which is often presented by Hong Kong Bay. For what with the mountainous masses around it, both on the islands and the mainland, the British war vessels, clippers, and steamers, the Chinese junks, chop boats, sampans, rafts, pleasure boats, and fishing craft, the bamboo sails, the gay colors displayed on the masts, the Chinese sailors, the deafening sounds of the tom-toms and gongs. When a vessel is about to sail, and the ching-ching joss, or firing of crackers, and burning of high-colored and tinselled paper cut into fanciful forms and scattered in a flaming shower on the water, altogether a stranger is absolutely bewildered with novelty.